This next job then, we've got this to repair. So this is out of a baler. I'm not entirely sure what its purpose is, but I'm guessing it acts as a bit like a cam. It looks like it has something that runs around it here, and it's a funny shape. I'm guessing it's something to do with the knotters on a square baler, but I don't know exactly what it is. But the problem is with it is this shaft here has worn down. So it looks like it acts as a cam and a crank. Something runs around there and something fastens onto there. You can see how much of that has worn away. Now there's sort of two ways to fix that. I can either chop that off, drill it through and put a new shaft in, but then I've got to work out a way of fastening it in, whether I weld it round or whether I try and build that back up again and then machine it back down to size. And the thing is with that, there's a circlip groove in there that I've got to try and machine back into it. But it looks like it's maybe balanced as well because of these bits. So if I drill it through and weld a new shaft in, I might run the risk of knocking it out of balance. How much it matters or not about balance, I don't know. Yeah, so what I think I'll do first is I'll try and build it back up and machine it back down rather than putting a new shaft in. To do that, I'll have to machine a bit off the good side as well, and then I can run weld all the way around it, and I've got like a consistent weld all the way around. But I think I'll clean it up and I'll put a bit of weld on it and make sure it's not going to go hard or anything, because it is a cast wheel. And if it's going to be all right, I suppose I can use cast rods if it does go hard. And I'll put it on the mill, find the middle of that, and use the boring head to bore it down slightly smaller, and then build it back up. Clean up with the wire wheel, and then we'll put a bit of weld on it. So I've just put a bit of weld on the top of there, and I can't mark it with a file, and it just blunted my centre punch. So I'm not going to be able to machine that if I build it up with MIG weld. So I'll have to use nickel rods and build it up with nickel rods. The only concern with nickel rods is whether it'd be hard enough. It's quite soft, whether it just wear out again if the weld I use is softer than the cast it's been made out of. But then if I did chop it off and drill through it, it's whether this wheel is going to be strong enough, whether it might crack through there if it's not going to be strong enough. So yeah, I'll have to build it back up with nickel weld. If I machine it down and put a sleeve over it, there's not going to be enough left. It's going to be down to like 22 mil, where that measures 30 mil at the moment. So yeah, I'll just take a light skim off the back so I've got a bit of depth of weld, and then weld all the way around it with nickel rods, and then machine it back to size. Yeah, so I'll get this set up on the mill, find the centre there, put the boring head in, take a little bit off it, so it's like half a mil or so, maybe a bit more, a mil off of this side where it's good, and then build it back up with weld. So I got the boring head set up. So yeah, we'll just take a bit off of there now. I've measured how far the circlip groove is off the bottom. It's like 30 mil from there to the bottom of the circlip groove. And I'll have to make a tool or something to recut it back in once I've got it welded up. Right, so that's got that down to 28 mil. Obviously it hasn't where that bit is, but that should give me like 1 millimetre of weld on the good side and then build that side back up. I don't really want to take any more off and weaken it too much, so hopefully, well, 1 mil should be enough. If I took it all the way back down so it was true all the way around, it'd be down to like 22 mil, so it'd be a lot smaller. Too small. So yeah, I'll have to weld this up now. Weld it up where it is now. I'll put me like fireproof blanket down, stop any sparks getting on the mill, and then probably warm it up a bit, preheat it, and then weld it around best I can. Right, I've got the welding blanket over the mill and a board across the back. And then I've got a jassic set up ready to stick weld. So I'm just going to have to give it a bit of a warm up because it's only like 2.8 degrees C, so it's pretty cold. So I'll warm it up maybe to like 150 before I start welding on it. Using these Supercast Ultima rods. I've had good results with them in the past, so hopefully it should work alright again on this. Right, so I've got some weld on there to fill in sort of where it was worn. I'll let it cool down a little bit now because we're up to about 360 degrees. And then I'll build it up all the way around. Right, so I've got that built back up, so hopefully that should be enough. It wasn't very easy getting in the back of there, but yeah, hopefully that should be enough to turn it back down to 30mm. So I have to wait for that to cool down now, and then I have to remember to widen that back out again. Right, that's the time to fully cool down again now. So I know that that was set at 28mm when I cut it down, so if I wind that back out 2mm, even though, well, whatever that is in metric, so slightly bigger than 30mm, and then see, I might have to wind it, depends how much it's cutting off, and then yeah, cut it back down to 30mm. So I'm half a mil, well, 1 mil off the finished diameter, so half a mil off either side. And you can see I haven't got enough weld in some places, so I'm going to have to fill them bits in now before I take any more off. And I'll use a bit high speed steel as well, rather than these boring bars. The crap of these boring bars for this boring head. Just chatter. So to fill these bits in, I don't think I'm going to bother preheating it again, because now I'm sticking like the same types of metal together, because that's all weld, so it's not sticking, it's not welding onto cast anymore, it's welding onto what, you know, the same type of metal as what the rods are. So I'll fill them bits in best I can, and then carry on machining it down. Right, I've changed over onto a bit high speed steel now, so see if that cuts any nicer. That's that machine down. I'm about bang on size now. It measures about 29.99. So that'll do for that. So I just want to flatten the top off now. I think I'll change over onto this cutter. Hopefully it'll cut that hard bit in the middle. If not, I'll have to grind it off. So that weld on the top actually machined off alright. So I maybe could have got away with welding all the way around with MIG wire. But it's just, I didn't want to weld it all up and then realise I couldn't machine it. So that's why I went with the stick. Anyway, that's machined off flat. So I need to work out how to put a circlip groove in it now. So I've just ground that high speed steel. I've used the grinder, clamped the grinder to the bench like that, using the little like pipe blocks that came with the bench. I don't know what the proper name is for them, but them. Set the grinder into them, and then clamped it down, and then yeah, just ground that. So hopefully now that should do to do me circlip groove. So I've got the boring head back in, so I'll get that set up, and hopefully that should do. Right, that worked really well. That's the circlip grooving. So I just want to chamfer this top edge off, and then that's that done. Right, so that's that done then. There's a few little bits there at top missing still, but that doesn't matter because it's nothing runs on that bit. Might just give it a bit of a polish up with some emery tape. But yeah, it's back to being a good part again now. Right, so next job we've got to do then is this wheel. It's been outside the workshop for a while, so I need to get it done. So it's a wheel off the front of a beet harvester somewhere. I'm not quite sure what its purpose is, but there's a new ring to go around where the old one has worn out, so I've got that to chop off and then that new one to weld on. I've also got some more train bits to make, but I'll do that another day. So yeah, we'll get on with this. So the hub in the centre of that is the same bolt pattern as this hub that I've been using for doing wheel rims with. So I made this centre before, so I can unbolt that and then bolt that other wheel onto it, and then that'll make it easier for working on. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut a plate out that I can bolt this to, that will then fasten down to my fixture table, and then I can use it for when I'm doing wheels as well, or whatever. It's not as handy in some jobs to clamp stuff down onto this bench. Like my old bench, I could use them Bessie clamps and clamp it with the handle upside down underneath the bench. But these clamps, you can't do that, they have to be on the top, but then the handle's going to be in the way for where the wheel runs. A plate drawn up to cut out with some holes in it that I can either bolt that to or weld that to, then I can fasten that down onto the corner. Right, so I've got that drawn, ready to cut out. I'm going to cut the holes out sort of in one pass, so it'll go into the hole, cut round it, back out, and then carry on. And then I'm going to cut it out with that 25mm plate that I've already got on there. So it has to be 25mm thick for these things to be able to grab hold of it. I'm not sure whether you can get these like shorter ones or not. I suppose I could always make a collar to go on them, so the plate didn't have to be 25mm thick. Or I could cut it out a thinner plate and then double it up like I did with them line boring jig plates that I made. But I just thought, wow, this is already on here. Rather than me changing steel about, I might as well just cut it out of this. Then it's done and ready to go. Right, that's them cut out. That's the bottom side, and them holes are absolutely perfect. They fit through really well, and that lines up with there. So give that a clean off, and then mark on them holes and drill it and tap it, I think. Bolt it on. I might just weld it on actually, because if I ever need to clamp it onto the tine, I can still clamp this plate onto the tine on my forklift or whatever. Be quicker than drilling it and tapping it. Right, there we are. So that's fastened down to the bench, and then that's welded on there. Taking that off, so then that other wheel just wants sitting on there now. Right, it turns out that stud pattern is actually different. I just presumed it'd be like your standard 6 stud front tractor front wheel stud pattern, but it's not. Anyway, it fits. It's sat on there, and I can use it to spin it round, so I can chop them off, chop one off, spin it round, and keep working my way around. So it'll definitely make it easier. Right, so I'm gonna use a plasma cutter and cut these off. So like cut through it, and I'll try and wash it away without losing any length off the overall length of these. So hopefully I should be able to see where the two join, and just carefully like wash this away and leave that intact. But it'll take me a while because there's a few of them. And then there's a new ring. The customer brought a new bit of round bar that's been rolled to shape, so that's to weld back on again. Right, that's all them cut off and cleaned up then. So I think I'll take it off here and turn it all the way up and sit it on the bench. I'll have to turn it all the way up because it's got bits welded on some places. And then we'll offer that ring up over the top of it and then tack it on. And then it should be straight then. No, it should be nice and flat. I've got that clamped down and then I've got it laid over the top. So this end has got a bit of a press on it first. So I think if I chop that off there and I can weld that onto that one, weld that on there and then go all the way around, and then when I get back to this end, chop off what I don't need and sort of taper it down and then weld it back onto there and onto that as well. Right, so that's that tacked all the way around then. Near enough. I think I've a few I've missed. I've just sort of been tacking it as I've been going round, and then I've been tightening these down and then knocking them up to push it up tight to the spokes. And I've done that all the way around. And then this end chopped off on an angle, so then I can weld that to there and then weld round that. So I think I'll unclamp that now and then put it back on my hub so I can spin it round. Probably put it back on the other way up because this side's already tacked. Oh, actually, I probably will. I might go around these now and weld these up while it's on the bench, and then I don't have to turn it over again. I just have to turn it over once onto the hub, and then it's just a case of welding around the other side, and then it's done. Right, so I've got it welded up all the way around now, but it's gone a bit wobbly. When I welded the first side up and it was clamped down to the bench, it was all right, but now when I welded it up on here, it's gone a bit wobbly. So I might just see if I can straighten it a bit. So I think I'll take it back off there, sit it the other way up again, back on the bench, and then not quite sure what I'm going to do, but Right, I've got that a bit better now. So there is a little bit still. So I might fine tune it a bit more. So what I was doing is, sort of where you could see it was starting to come off the bench, I was putting a punch underneath it like that, sitting out underneath it, and then whacking it with a sledgehammer after that to sort of bend it down a bit. And then did that in a few places. It was worse there where I'd welded it up. Obviously the heat of the weld had pulled it. And sort of got it back, bent down again. So I think that won't be far off. Might clamp it down that side and do a little bit more. But I don't know if it's really necessary getting it absolutely bang on. So I don't really know what it does, but the customer said he'd done a few himself and they always end up wonky after he's done them, so this should be better than the ones he's done. I'll put that back on the hub now and see what it runs like. It's just a bit heavy to keep moving it about all the time. Yeah, that's a lot better. There's still a little bit of run out. There will be run out that way because it's not sat in the middle. But I'm just looking at the up and down run out. Yeah, no, I'd say that's all right. Yeah, so we'll call that done then. There are the old bits that I cut off. So yeah, I'll lift that back out and that's that job done.